Hey there, I'm Orca. It's been a minute since I've last posted. There are reasons, but I'm not going to cover them right now. Maybe in a later video, but not today. So I've drawn Violet in different styles. I actually did 8 of these, but I only recorded the last 4. And after posting the first chunk, I remembered people usually make speed paints of this sort of thing, so I figured, why not do it too? When approaching these, I tried my best to commit to the style. This meant changing Violet's colors and her patterns. For some of these, mainly for fun and because I thought it looked good too, I added a bit of each ear's color into the other. Best way to explain is by showing. I also tried too hard on the line art, which led to burnout, or at least I began to burn out. Since I was making myself complete each piece in one go, that meant I couldn't take a break between each step. It's just easier editing-wise that way. But because I did that, I ended up forgetting smaller details in some of the drawings. You'll see some of my bigger offenses later on in this video. For now, we can start with my favorite of them. First up is Wolf.Coven. I'll start off by talking about the line art. So, doing these made me realize how messy I draw my line art. Look at this. Otherwise though, I think I did pretty good on this one. I definitely struggled getting it right, but I can say that about all of them. The line art alone took me an hour on each piece. Thank God I wasn't doing full rendering. That would have sucked. I did do a little oopsies though, as the big one I chose for reference kind of has a unique feature. The eyes. Most of Wolf.Coven's characters have their eyes blocked out, at most having an airbrushed bit of color at the bottom. So good thing I double checked. It's not that big a deal, but seeing as there were so little with the iris, I chose it was best to follow suit. Being that coloring most of these were easy, most of the work was getting colors that matched their style. This meant color picking from their existing art and seeing where they leaned towards, and how much contrast there were with the hues of each color. With all the different styles, I noticed how they all used brighter colors. So to keep them all different, I thought about, would they go more red, more yellow? She's a golden retriever. Violet, I mean. With Coven, I went more yellow. I seriously brightened the colors and leaned closer to white. I do sort of wish I didn't use as bright of a cream as I did. I don't think it looks bad per se, but I do think I could have gone a little darker. Second is Cupas. I love their style so much already. But look, they make the gifts. They make gifts. I love it so much. I can't. I did not do the style justice. I messed up on the nose and eyes. And the star. Oh my god, don't get me started on the stars. Like, it's so fun and it's so cool and they're so vibrant. I love their style. But this was partly what I meant when I said I cared too much about the line art. I ended up burning out fast and started forgetting small things that made a world of a difference. Either way, I had a lot of fun drawing this sort of style. I can't for the life of me explain the thought process behind the nose. It's infuriating. Stop it. Just stop. You looked. Oh my god. It makes me so irritated. Why did I do that? I did rather enjoy the eyes though. I almost made the iris a circle, which in Q's style, they're actually more like beans. Look, they're perfect little beans. I'm also pretty proud of the jaw. I don't know why. I just really like the way I drew the jaw. I think the way I drew the hair is a little stiff. Same for the cheek fluff, but oh well. For these colors, I did stay more red. The funny thing is that I don't think I changed the actual color. Violet's actually more of a darker reddish color. After letting it sit a little while, I think I should have done more with the brighter gold instead of this. It feels sort of pinkish. The ears I had a bit of trouble with. Specifically, the cream in the ears. This meant the shape of the ear tips would also be different. But how? I had no idea. So eventually I just kind of gave up and said, good enough. So, we're on to sour milk. This was painful. Their style was so painful. Not in that I don't like it. I do like it. I was putting quite a bit of stress on myself to do the line art right. Because of that, I sort of ruined my flow. Milk's line art is textured, but Fire Alpaca doesn't have a brush with the right one. So I seriously disliked looking at it since I was so close yet so far. To be honest, I don't remember most of my thought process. I was mostly just forcing myself to get through it to where I let bigger mistakes slide. But the worst of it all was I messed up saving the video somehow. So all I have is this kind of mediocre piece. Sorry. Okay, so I sort of nearly almost forgot to record this one. Thank God I didn't. Otherwise, this would have been an upsettingly short video. But I remembered. I also nearly messed up the eyes on this one too. Well, I did, but I fixed the shape. I started off way sharper than I should have. I fixed it later. But then later, I started doing the eyes, like the iris and the pupil, but I colored it wrong. I don't know how to explain it, but if you look between the one I did and their usual art, it just feels wrong. But I didn't know how to fix it, so I just didn't. I was also a little upset over the tongue, because as you can see in the sketch, I had this little drippy saliva spit thing with the tongue, but from looking through all of Naru's art, I noticed they don't do that, and the way they draw their tongue is very simple, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that meant I couldn't have my big drippy tongue thing. I also struggled a lot with the line art for the cheek fur. Thinner line art equals harder line art. It can be rewarding, especially if you like the way thinner line art looks. But it just means it's harder to get clean lines. It's harder to color in the lines. So it made this a lot harder than the other ones were, because with the other ones, they all had thicker line art. I just ended up completely omitting the sweater, because you can see in my sketch that I originally wanted to add the sweater since they actually had drawings of a character in sweaters. But because of the way they drew the sweater, I didn't know how to use the shape language or the strings, so I wanted to do that tied up hood string that I do. But I couldn't get it to work since I don't know how they would draw it, so I was just trying to wing it. But eventually, unlike the usual times where I just winged a detail because they had no reference, I wasn't feeling it, and I just decided to omit the sweater altogether. Now, when it came to the coloring, I don't know, okay. My biggest issue was that the base color that I had decided to use was this weird orangey color. It kind of looked like a darker golden retriever, which it doesn't look as bad in the video, but when I put them all together, it just looked so wrong. With the rest of them, I didn't have that sort of darker caramel color, so I ended up having to change it. I lightened it up a little bit so that it was in line with all the other ones. I think maybe it would have been okay if I did more of them with that darker sort of color, but I didn't. My favorite for this one was the ears, though. I love the ears, specifically the magenta and the blue. So I don't know if Naru would particularly decide to do that, because in her reference right now, her ears are just the same color, but with a bit of a darker fade at the end. It's not even noticeable. I don't know why I did it. I like it. I don't know why I did it. There is still one difference between this style and all the others was that I didn't shade this one. So the reason for that, I kind of didn't understand. I still don't understand how they shade or render their pieces, so I just chose not to. So I really enjoyed these. I love seeing my characters in other people's styles, and there are definitely techniques I could learn from. Plus, doing these made me realize that Violet is like really dark. I'm going to need to lighten her up a bit. I mean, I know she's meant to be emo, but that doesn't mean she needs to be like really, really dark. She can still have lighter fur colors. Also, if you liked any of these styles, you can go find links to their account in the description below. Also, you can go check out my Instagram. I'm most active on there. Other than that, have fun, good day, good night, and I'll see you guys whenever I post.